I was a lonesome little fella.
I remember being concerned, frightened.
Because I can see where we could have been lost.
Their father had died. Their mother couldn't care for them. So they were bundled into a train car filled with orphans, all of whom were searching for families who would take them in. 5 little boys looking for a home.
I didn't think that anybody liked me anyway. And I didn't give a damn.
Ed Panzer and his 4 brothers rattled across America in the fall of 1922. They were part of a remarkable Odyssey. 100,000 such children were plucked from the streets of New York City and sent west to a new life. Most were the sons and daughters of immigrants, found starving and alone. The Children's Aid Society swept them up and shipped them to villages all across the country.
At each stop, their arrival was advertised. Kids trooped off the train, lined up, and couples simply picked the one they wanted.
And these fellows went around and, felt our muscles and so on and so forth. And I didn't like that at all. That was just like making a slave out of you.
It's quite a shock, you feel like you're on display.
Ed's brother Harold.
So, that brings back memories that, that I just can't emotionally sometimes have problems with.
Children not selected were returned to the orphan train. In Tekamah, Nebraska,
everybody else was chosen except me.
Desperate to be noticed, Harold Panzer sang to get the crowd's attention. He was holding his little brother.
They wanted to take George, and because he was an attractive little boy. He had brown eyes and curly brown hair. And he hung on to me and wouldn't let go. So the dentist took us, both, because George wouldn't let go.
The other Panzer boys were sent to separate farms. Some found couples that loved them. Ed ended up with a man who wanted cheap labor.
He just gave me the god-awfulest beating I've ever had. Whew. I didn't cry.
He took odd jobs and saved, and eventually entered college. All of his brothers did too. They were determined to have more than life had given them.
Gosh, where was this taken?
In the midst of the Great Depression, Ed became a doctor, and so did his brother Harold. They worked to put each other through medical school. Brother Jack built the hospital where Harold opened his practice. Bob became pastor of one of the largest Methodist churches in California. And George, the baby who kept the brothers together, they all started him in business. Now he is a millionaire.
Here I am, Ed.
They are still at each other's side on important days.
Where you been all your life?
Oh, hiding from you.
I don't blame you for that.
Harold Panzer is now 80 years old.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together here in the sight of God.
This spring, he got married with the help of a brother.
Now, if you can find a person by that name, you may kiss Mrs. Harold Panzer. You may kiss Mrs. Harold Panzer if you can find
Harold
someone.
Panzer.
It's been 67 years since their ride on the orphan train. The brothers have now what they had then, each other. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Tekamah, Nebraska.